Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I love you more. By the Beatles. Losing a lover or spouse to death is one of the most disturbing and emotionally challenging things that can happen to a person. For a lot of people, their partners form such an important part of their life that their loss leaves them feeling shattered, hopeless and depressed.
क्योंकि आपके golden years शुरू होने वाले हैं. कैसा महसूस होता?
Oh, fantastic.
Fantastic. Wow, wow.
They are so deeply attached to the one they have lost that moving on and pursuing a new romantic relationship often seems like an impossible idea to them. Most of them spend a considerable part of their life in grief, unable to accept the loss and consequently the thought of accepting a new lover. But love, like all things in life, is unpredictable. It might come knocking at your door when you're least expecting it. Sometimes in the form of a boat ride in Allahabad, and sometimes in the form of a misdelivered lunchbox. Sergeant Fernandez was a quiet and lonely man who mostly kept to himself. We'll never find out much about the kind of person he was before the death of his wife, but various instances in the film suggest that his indifference and irritability are a consequence of his loneliness. We'll also never know how much he loved his wife, but we know for sure that her absence had left him an isolated and wretched man. Unable to cope with the grief of his wife's loss, Sergeant was living an unhappy life with no intent to move on until the lunchbox from Mila arrived. On the other hand, when we meet Deepak Kumar for the first time, he's yet to meet Shalu. We see his entire journey of meeting Shalu, falling in love with her, and eventually losing her. We live his grief along with him and watch him transition from denial to despair and finally acceptance of the loss. It's only after going through his share of grief that he finally meets Devi. Deepak's story ends where Sergeant starts, at the accidental encounter with a second chance at love. The Lunchbox and Masaan are two very different films about two very different worlds. But what binds them together is their shared hope for anyone who's still holding on to the memories of the ones they've lost and are having a hard time accepting they can love again. These films show stories of people who persevered against all odds and found the courage to move on. That doesn't necessarily mean they forgot about their departed lovers. It just means they made space for one more.